Hey, wow, almost everyone started at once, except for Instagram. You guys were early.
You
I don't
can
know
hit
why.
Instagram first.
I did hit it first, but I
It
hit.
kind of is more like.
Hey, wow, almost everyone started at
Wow,
once,
that's
except for
fun.
Instagram. You guys were early. I don't know why.
Instagram first.
I am gonna
I
have to
did hit
turn
it
that
first, but I
It
hit.
kind of is more like.
Hey, wow, almost everyone started at
Wow,
once, except for
exciting.
Instagram. You guys were early. I don't know why.
I am gonna
I
have
did
to
hit
turn
it
that
first, but I
It
hit.
kind of is more like.
Hey, wow, almost everyone started at once. except for Instagram.
Wow, I
You
have
guys
no
were
idea what's
early.
going on too. This is kind of exciting.
I don't know why. I did hit it first.
That was why, because I had YouTube open. I was getting feedback on there. Sorry, guys. Well, hey, we got one person that has joined us in on Facebook. Hello, person. I don't know who you are. Why don't you go ahead and start everyone up, and I'll...
Well, hey, it is Monday, so we are live for our Monday caregiver check-in. We are once again on the patio. So this is Margie Fink and
I'm Darren Fink.
from Transfiguring Adoption. And we do this once a week just to kind of check in with caregivers from wherever they're at, to just kind of see how everybody's doing, to answer questions, let everybody just share advice, tips, questions, just that kind of time. We are not professionals. We are foster adoptive parents who've seen a lot and gone through a lot. And our goal is just to connect people.
Hey, Alice. Glad to see you on Instagram. So Alice was saying that she does the same thing. I don't know what that means. Are you a foster parent, adoptive parent, or you do like a live support group? I don't know. I want to know though. So yeah, so glad everyone could be here. We had fun last week talking with everyone. It was amazing. It's just fun to meet everyone from around different places. And so I will tell you, as Margie shared our small print and all of them, so she has, well, very cool. Well, we're glad you're here, Alice. We are always here every Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we will always be on YouTube and Facebook Live. So if you can get on either one of those, we will be on either one of those. If you forget, go to our website, transfiguringadoption.com, and we have a list of when we're going to be on there talking, so you can connect with us. We had so much fun talking with everyone last week. So again, the way this works is we're going to start talking. We have a prepared topic that we're going to discuss. Margie and I are just here to facilitate conversation. We want you guys to share advice, suggestions, or your questions at any point, and we'll talk about questions and different things like that as you bring them up, and we'll discuss those. Had so much fun talking with you. One thing we did get a question after last week's. Someone was asking about tantrums, and we're going to get into that here pretty soon. Talking about that and what that looks like with our kids and how to handle it. And again, we want you guys to tell us what you think and your advice. So, hey, Rachel's on here. We like Rachel. Hey, Rachel on Facebook. But yeah, so if you have a question or suggestion at any point, please go ahead and put that. We are watching all of the chat channels on Instagram right now. We're watching Facebook and we're watching YouTube. Alice on Instagram says she does Facebook Live too, and she gives advice, and she's a counselor. Well, Alice, it'd be great to connect with you. Definitely shoot me an email at Darren, D-A-R-R-E-N, at transfiguringadoption.com. Maybe we can work something out so that you're on here with us, one of our caregiver check-ins.
Rachel's on. She is a professional in the field and also a mega volunteer for Transfiguring Adoption.
I would love to tell everyone that we have some exciting stuff coming. Wednesday, we're going to be posting some exciting stuff about our ELF Squad, which is our volunteer mobilization. That's what they've chosen to call themselves, since our first tool was utilizing the Harry Potter series through a discussion guide. We have some exciting news with that coming Wednesday, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to ask everyone to come into our social media platforms and share that news on social media, if you can do us that. And right now, if you can go ahead and just hit the share button if you're able to. If you can hit the share button, let people know that you're watching us and you're joining the conversation in with us. That's going to get more people on here so that we can talk and have more caregivers and professionals on here. Alice.
And
Alice says she's adopted a little girl. Appreciate you.
Sometimes we also have former foster youth and adoptees on here. It's just kind of whoever's around and checking in. So it's great to have people from all different parts of this journey to just kind of share with each other.
All right. So we're 5 minutes in and people are still checking in. So I'm kind of stalling for time here if you haven't noticed, so people can get checked in here. So as you're checking in, just again, the ground rules are just go ahead and share your suggestions or your thoughts. If you've learned anything about foster care and adoption this week, share it, because you might think that everyone knows it. No, they don't. They don't. Not everyone knows it. I guarantee I probably don't know it, and I need to hear it so that I can go on the journey better. Also, if you have questions, we're a group of people, like Margie said, we're not, Margie and I aren't counselors, and we're not saying that this should replace counseling or anything like that, but you might be led in the right direction for your question, or at least you're finding some people that are on the same journey with you. Shout out to Alice is on here. Oh, please silence your cell phones. Wow, and now even your computer's been.
We can't hear yours.
Her name, so shout out to Alice, says that her adopted girl, her name is Elizabeth, and she is 6 years old. So shout out to her. You are on social media live. Hey, I wanted to share something with you guys. So we have a publishing company called Jessica Kingsley Publishing. They send us new books that they get, books for grown-ups, and they also send us books for kiddos. And we just got a book in the mail called The Mermaid. Oops, okay, I'm going to show it to Facebook. The Mermaid, and Instagram, The Mermaid Who Couldn't, if you can read backwards for Instagram. The Mermaid Who Couldn't. It is by Ali Redford and illustrated by Kara Simpson. Amazing illustrations. I am really excited. Ali has also written a book called The Boy Who Built a Wall Around Himself. And it was one of our faves on our book reviews. You have to check it out. If you go to transfiguringadoption.com, if you look at our book review list, it actually, her other book got the highest marks that any piece of media can get in our stuff. And so I'm really excited to be taking a look at this and see what it has to offer. The illustrations just look top notch. It looks like it's going to hold kids' attention. Well, let me read the back to you guys. So this is, the back says, I'm a useless mermaid, Mariana thought. I can't do anything. Mariana is not like the other mermaids, abandoned by a careless mother on the ocean floor. She's never laughed or played. She can't sing and can barely even swim. Then she meets a turtle called Muriel, who welcomes her into her family and shows her all things she can do. Written for children aged 4 to 9 and beyond, this picture book shows how children who lack confidence can learn to find sense of self-worth. So it sounds very cool. It sounds like it's going to be a really great tool for all of us that are in the foster care or adoptive journey and want to be able to bring up conversations with our kiddos. This just sounds like it's going to be really neat. But let me know what you think. Comment below if you think this looks like a great book, if you're excited for us to review it, what you think about it, or any other books or media that you have run into lately that would be good to use to talk with your kids about foster care adoption issues. So let us know. I want to hear about it. So yeah, what do you think about it?
I haven't really looked at it yet, but I know from the other book that it was definitely one of our faves, so I'm excited.
Yeah, definitely Ali Redford. You spell ALIREDFORD. The Boy Who Built a Wall Around Himself definitely is amazing. So definitely check that out on our book reviews. Yeah. Hey, April and Kyle have joined us. So glad that you're here. So again, as people are still trickling in here, if you guys have any suggestions or advice for the adoption foster care journey, or if you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, we're just going to keep bringing up and working on our topic, and we will let you guys interject, and please comment whenever you can. So do you have anything else for everyone before we dive into our topic? Yep. So why don't you do you want to introduce the topic a little bit?
Go for it.
Okay. But you had kind of more of a, I guess.
No, I had something after you started off.
Okay, so we had someone that asked us about tantrums, and I'm not sure because I didn't pull it up, and I really don't know if they want us to share actually. But they were asking us about tantrums and how do you handle tantrums, and this is something that kind of struck home with Margie and I because tantrums are, they can be exhausting. And I feel like with kiddos that are in that fight, flight, or freeze area of their brain, and they're just always on guard, I feel like this can be just really exhausting because they can keep going with the tantrum because they're literally fighting for their lives and we're not, and we just want it to stop. And so when I thought of this, when I think of tantrums, I just think of a kiddo like screaming and on the floor fighting for their lives. But I'm curious, have you guys experienced tantrums? We've experienced like some tantrums
well, and
lasting.
I think one of the things when we were talking about this is that there's kind of different terms that are used: tantrums, meltdowns, rages, and they can be a little bit different depending on. But sometimes it's just the person speaking. It's kind of subjective, just different word choices, but there could be some variation. But I was talking about being screamed at, hit, kicked, you know, and just the impact that it has on the family and the others in the home. You know, we had mentioned last week about like 3-hour-long meltdowns / rages that could be very violent, and just kind of realizing at one point that the child had made so much progress and that those had, you know, gotten much shorter, and at times, you know, kind of went to where we weren't having to deal with that as much. So, you know, to me, like, there's kind of some, like, tantrums I kind of think of as shorter, whereas, like, some of these rages that can last hours and hours was kind of where I think it was going a little bit.
The rages, I think I would have a hard time. I definitely have a hard time dealing with because I feel like as a caregiver for me, it's like having to deal with, well, it's like the Grand Canyon being formed, right? It takes like over time, it's just slowly the water like breaking the rock down. I feel like if it's a short burst, I can deal with that. I can be patient. I can whatever. But I feel like with the long-term rages, I feel like if it's going to last 45 minutes, I feel like you're going to get me eventually.
Well, and then one of the things she said is, how do you not take it personally?
Oh.
And that's, I think, with behavior in general, a lot of times it's really, really hard depending on what the behavior is. There are things that are said, maybe, or things that are done, or if a child in a rage destroys one of your favorite, you know, most favorite things, that can feel very personal.
Right.
And so behavior in general, a lot of times, again,
yep. Yeah, like I think it is hard to take it personal because you've had
not to take it personal.
Right. Well, how not to take it personal, because I think you've had to deal with that a lot actually with like some of our kids, like having to not take things personally but they don't know. I don't think. Do you think they know what they're doing at the time?
No, and I think that's one of the things that we have to remember is that when they're in that moment of that tantrum or rage or meltdown, whatever it is that's going on, they're stuck kind of in this primal part of their brain. And you know, one of the things a lot of professionals will tell you is you can't talk to them at that point. You can't reason, you can't logic, you can't talk about what they're doing wrong or why, because that part of their brain is literally shut off when they're in that mode. So the primary action at that point is keep everyone safe, and then try and de-escalate, try and help them to regulate themselves, because they don't have that skill. They haven't learned that how to soothe themselves, how to get themselves calm. So as the adults, you know, it's our job to kind of help them learn how to cope, learn how to settle down and de-escalate and soothe themselves, regulate their moods, that kind of thing. We can't necessarily talk about behaviors and why and the motivation or anything like that during those moments. But as far as taking it personally, you know, when I was talking to this caregiver, I said, one of the things that I really go to is just kind of this, I look back at a lot of the science and the whys and the, just kind of some of the experts and what they say about those specific behaviors, and kind of go to, you know, this was not, I didn't cause this, it's not about me. To kind of remind myself, it's not about me, that's not,
But I think
I'm
it's
tired. I'm not
but I think
today.
it's hard. I think it's hard to not take it personally, even when we're on our A game. I want to know, what does everyone see? What do you think of when you think of a tantrum? What do you think of when you think of a rage? What are things?
Meltdown.
What are a meltdown? What are things that you do, or can you think of to do, that help de-escalate the situation? Or what do you do so that things like you don't get yourself into trouble, or things there aren't problems? I want to know what happens with that. So that's what I'm curious about. And while we're waiting for people to answer, if everyone wouldn't mind going ahead and hit the share button while you're watching us. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, if you can hit the share button and just let other people know that you're watching, and that'll alert people that you're watching, and we'll have a better conversation on here.
Okay. Laura says she works with teens, and she said she has to tell herself it took many years to develop these behaviors and reactions. It will take so much time to unlearn and change that behavior. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, actually, you can go share on yours too, Heather. Absolutely. I think that's the hard part with all of our stuff, is remembering that this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And with everything, with what we're dealing with, no matter if it's where our kids are behavior-wise or the issues that they're coming up against, these didn't happen overnight, and the fixes aren't going to be overnight. Nothing with the foster care and adoption journey is overnight, and there's no quick fix. It's definitely like a long journey process, and I think that's hard for all of us. Like, even if we tell ourselves that, we want it to be fast, because I feel like when you're in the moment, you're like really like a 3-hour meltdown. Like, I can't deal with that. Like, and you're sitting there thinking, I can't deal with that for like, what do you mean 3-6 months for it to get better? I can't deal with that. So I don't know. So
well,
thank you.
Sometimes it's a lot longer than 3 to 6 months.
Right, it could be way longer. But thank you so much for sharing that, Laura, for letting us know about that. Yeah. So how do you remind yourself that it takes time, and what do you do in the moment to let yourself know that everything's okay? Like, and again, what do you do to diffuse the situation when there is a meltdown or a tantrum? What do you do? I'm interested to hear more people's thoughts on that.
Yay. Sorry,
Sharing.
I mean, and it depends on the situation. I mean, we've had times where just humor and playfulness kind of de-escalates. That's one thing.
Yeah, tell them about some of those, like our impromptu dance stuff.
Dance parties, that always relieves tension.
Right. So like there are times when I can think of like where like things are just getting really out of hand. And there's like, I think there are times where you feel like you need to address something and you need to handle a situation. But then all of a sudden, like, I think if you kind of get into the habit of realizing when you've reached your limit and you're about to blow, and start to know
what your buttons are. Well, and even not let them get pushed.
Right, and like trying to see too, like what's really important in the long run. You know, like if a kid won't sit down at the dinner table, like it sounds like, I mean, it's something that all of us think that a kid should know, right? Because if you're going to go to a restaurant or be like a functional member of society, you got to know to sit down at the dinner table, right? But maybe tonight is not the night that you're going to fight that battle. And like I feel like there are times, are we successful at it all the time? Heck no. But I feel like there are times that like we have noticed, hey, it's just time to stop and it's time to do something totally off the wall stupid. Like we have a dance party and we just put on music and we just start dancing, and the kids, it kind of throws the kids off, I think. Like it derails everyone from that in the moment, like here I am fighting for this issue. And then, yeah. Kyle is saying tone of voice is really important for de-escalation. Yes. Tell us more about that. I want to hear, what does everyone think about tone of voice? What sort of tone of voice do you take? That is good. I like that. Tone of voice is important.
Yeah, because if you rise to meet theirs, then that escalates it more. Had some hands going to say, and I just totally blanked.
Well, and I think think there's like, just even in our society where we have a lot of text messaging and stuff, right? I think one thing that we all get upset with as adults is that you lose the tone. And you usually get, I forget what the statistic was, but when I was doing more social media marketing type things, they would say that actually, that I think it was like something like 80 or 90% of people will read a post or a text message in the worst light possible. Because that's just what we're ingrained to do, is to be, like right now we want to be mistrusting and we want to read a negative into something. And so we're always kind of
necessarily want to, I think.
But we're just expecting it.
It's easier to when you don't have that tone to kind of.
And that's why they tell you never to solve issues and problems over texting, because you lose the tone and people are looking at stuff like that, the negativity into it. So I think, I mean, if we have a society just like that, I think I don't know. I think we have to watch our tone of voice. Where are you going? She just like got up and left.
Sorry, there's a runaway.
She like just got up, like there was a volleyball that just went by us and she had to go and get it. It was just really random. Let's talk about ADHD in adults. So yeah, how do you handle tantrums? That's the question I still want to look at, is tantrums, meltdowns, and rages. How do you deal with things like that?
Okay.
Did you need that?
I don't think it really would have gone anywhere. I guess I'm not used to having a fenced yard.
No, because it was already all the way over there and then go all the way back.
I'm a little... It's a weird day. I'm tired. It's very quiet, if you haven't noticed that. Our younger two just went off to their first
Summer camp.
sleepover camp ever. So we're kind of like, I don't know, I think I'm in like, just relax.
I don't know. I think if you're jumping up, I think you're wanting to find something. Like I think you're on guard.
No. It's just like when they come back from camp, I think they're going to want their volleyball.
Oh my goodness. Going back,
Anyways.
Tantrums and meltdowns and rages. So what have you done where you found that this stuff works? So Laura says that listening, oftentimes I keep my tone calm and my sentences short. Longer sentences can feel like they're being talked at and it can escalate their emotions. I tell them if they will control their anger that I want to hear about it and actually paying attention to what they're angry or hurt about. And Dawn's on here. Hey, Dawn. So glad you're on here.
Well, and I think she's pointed something really important here with the whole, they can't process really if their emotions are really high. So talking to them doesn't work well anyways. It's not really a teachable moment. They can't learn anything in the moment. And so like she said, being talked at, if you're lecturing, Dr. Karen Purvis, who was for years, decades, a professional in the field of foster care and adoption, she says, like in Texas, it's like more than 4 words. It's like spitting in the wind. And she talked about how they hear those first 4 words, and after that, you know, they're not hearing anything anyways. I know I'm like the #1 lecturer. I'm really bad about lecturing and getting into all those words, and they can't deal with it at the moment. It's. I
think my pitfall is I go into rants. Like I'm famous for my rants. Like what she's kind of only. I just like when I hit my end all, like with a tantrum or a meltdown, like I think I match, like when I'm at my worst, I match the child's tone, only I'm bigger and louder. And so I just rant. And I'm not saying that's definitely the wrong way to handle it, but I mean, it's showing the opposite of how tone is. Because then after a while, they don't learn anything either, and they haven't communicated anything with them. They just know that I really was upset with the 45-minute rant or like meltdown, and yeah, like it doesn't solve anything. I think the tone is so important because our kids, they need to feel safe too, right? Because they've been in places where they don't feel safe. And my rant doesn't help them feel safe. Wow. I need to check into Rants Anonymous. Is there like a thing about, anger management? No, I don't want to do that. Maybe I need it. I don't have anger issues. I have ranting. I have dad rant issues. Like I rant. Like a lot of, like back when I was your age, I would have been, Eye roll. Insert eye roll here. So then what were you saying? What is the difference between like a meltdown and a tantrum?
I don't know. You talk. I'm so fried.
All right.
I don't even know what I was going to say. I had like some big thought and it's totally gone.
So I think tantrums to me sounds like it's like a short little I want to get my way thing, and meltdown sounds like
I've totally lost control of my emotions and I'm
right, like I've totally lost it and I'm lost control and I can't think anymore. Like
and then I think of the rages as more of the hours long of screaming and just either being violent or just loud.
Interesting. What do you guys think? What
But
are
a lot of times those words are used interchangeably. That's why.
So what do you think a tantrum is and what do you think a meltdown is? And do you have issues with either one of them? I am curious to know. But it just again, as more people, I'm seeing more people jump in here. If you guys have any suggestions or anything that you've learned throughout the week, be sure to comment and let us know. We're watching all the comments, or ever, if you've ever experienced, or ask us your questions if you have any questions about things that you're wondering. We're actually, this tantrum question, we actually got this after our last caregiver check-in. Someone was asking about how to deal with tantrums, and specifically how not to take it personally. And it sounded like there was some hitting and physical, like the child was getting physical.
Well, and screaming and like just things that are said in those moments.
Right. That is hard. I mean, how do you not take things personally with your kids? And I think that's hard because I think with parents, like regular parents, I think like teenagers especially will say things they don't mean in the moment because they're emotional. But I feel like our kids are stuck in a goop of hormones and emotions, and they constantly are saying stuff where they don't mean it necessarily, but they're just trying to survive and they're trying to make it. So how do you not take things personally? Because after a while, you get tired and you start to take things personally. If someone, at first, if someone tells you you're stupid, you can tell yourself, no, I'm not. I'm a smart person because of X, Y, Z. But after the 200th and 40th time in an hour, you start to question yourself and you start to think, well, am I stupid? Like, I thought I was smart when I started, but I don't know now. Like, you think? Like, so how do you not take things personally? Christina, hey Christina, I didn't see that it said you jumped on here. Meltdowns are completely completely out of control and violence. We deal with both. It's hard to hear them. Some days I'm okay with them, others it's hard not to take it personal. That's the truth, isn't it? Like some days it definitely is hard to not take it personal. I don't know, and I guess that goes back I mean, what do you guys think? Like, it goes back to the whole thing that I think all of us groan about because it's difficult to do, but self-care. Like, it's difficult to do, and we're tired of caseworkers and friends and therapists telling us that, but I think it goes back to self-care, because if you're tired and you're out of it, and you haven't gotten to do anything you wanted to do, then I think it's hard to take it from, like, when a child is in that moment and they need you, I think it's hard to handle that. You think? What are your thoughts?
Well, I was just kind of thinking about one time, I had a caregiver asking me questions about behaviors and how to deal with behaviors. And I think with temper tantrums, meltdowns, rages, whatever, kind of behaviors, the easiest way to deal with them is to try and prevent them. So one thing, if we can learn our kids' triggers, what causes them to get to that point where they go into a rage, or being able to see where they're starting to escalate and help them back down before it ever gets to that point. And I think that's a skill that we learn. And when a child first comes into your home, you don't necessarily know. But
right.
As you're growing and learning as a member of someone, helping that child, helping them understand you're on their team and you're trying to help them, and come behind them, and you can kind of see, we've had those times when we've seen, we know something's coming, and so we can kind of head it off at the pass, and it's so much better.
Right, and I'm getting ready to put a link on here to a blog actually you wrote called "Do You Hear Me?" And I think that's kind of what I think it was Laura that said it. Like, just that it's like listen, like even if they have to say it, if they can control their anger and they can share something, I think that diffuses a lot of things too. Is if they feel like they're being heard.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I feel like if your child feels like, how do you guys feel? How do you diffuse those tantrums? How do you recognize that your child is about ready to lose it? Like, how do you know that?
Well, and depending on the situation, sometimes it's even helping them understand, like, oh, I can see that you're really feeling this way because this happened or something, and helping them even see the situation where they're not necessarily can do that on their own.
And I think that's rough. I think they a lot of times our kids can't recognize what they need.
Mm-hmm. So if we're giving them voice and helping them kind of understand what's going on,
right,
that helps them calm down a bit.
And I feel like too, like we have to be. I mean, it's going to go back to the self-sacrifice, the self-care thing, where I feel like if we're not caring for ourselves, we can't recognize when we're about to lose it, because I feel like our fingers are in the light socket. So how do you guys know when your finger is in the light socket and you aren't be able to tell when you need to calm down or you need to take a step back? Hey, Jeremiah. Jeremiah's joined on Facebook. Hey, buddy. And I'm going to remind everyone, too, again, if you are watching, if you could hit the share button and just let everyone know that you're watching, that'll help us to reach more people so we can have a better conversation. But please let us know if you have any suggestions or advice. We'd love to hear them, and also love to hear your questions so that we can help facilitate conversation, because this is about you guys and your talk, not us. So, hey, Laura says, yes, listening between the lines. Ooh, that's a good phrase. Even with teens, when EQ is non-existent, they need help sorting through what is happening internally. What do you think of that?
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen it working with teens all the time where they don't know emotionally where they're at. And they can't always pinpoint what it is that's, we've had one of our kiddos is very good at being able to
freakishly good, actually.
Really good at being able to understand kind of where she's at. Well, I just gave it away. Our daughter, Jasmine, she's always just been very intuitive and emotionally and like even behaviorally, she can say, if you can get her to the point and say, okay, this doesn't seem to match what's going on. This behavior doesn't match what's happening. So what's really happening? And she can calm down and say, okay, well, this is going on, and this is why I'm reacting this way, or I'm just really upset about this other thing, and that's why I'm, overreacting. Right. And she can say, you're overreacting, and I'm overreacting, and we can take a step back and stuff. But most kids can't.
Well, I'm even thinking about another child that we had in our home temporarily, and this kiddo was a teenager. Hey, Dusty. This kiddo was a teenager, and I watched at one point when this kiddo just lost it and did like a freeze where they just stood in place, and they had the posture like an 8-year-old kid that's just standing there sobbing because they didn't know what else to do. And it's just like, they didn't know how to answer us. They didn't know how to, it's just like it wasn't even an aggressive tantrum or an aggressive meltdown, but it was a meltdown. Like they lost control and they didn't know what else to do besides just stand there and cry like an 8-year-old kid, not a 16-year-old. So that was interesting. But yeah, what else? Christina, where do you have it? Oh, is that? Oh, voice changes are one we can see in just the demeanor. We often try to use laughter instead to diffuse the situation. As far as knowing when myself am becoming out of control, I often feel hot in the face. That is my biggest thing to tell me I need to step away or tag team with my hubby. Yeah, for sure. And that's very insightful, actually, that you can see that coming on when you're getting hot in the face. I think this really relates to this, but it might, is one thing that I do that's silly, especially when you have younger kids and they're trying to, this doesn't really, no, it's not, I guess it's not tantrums. and doesn't. Yeah, that's funny that you know what I'm going to say. But like Margie and I said earlier, one thing that we do the dance parties, just because it's really random. I remember one time when we were having issues, I guess, with our kids. We did do like a random like tornado drill, and we like made them all go down in the basement and stand back to back, and we took rolls of toilet paper and we tornadoed around them. And it was just something really random and just out there, and it just got us all out of the situation. But we were laughing about it. Like, it was just so left field from the issue we were dealing with. And we did deal with the issue later.
When everyone was calm.
When everyone was calm.
I don't even remember what happened. I didn't even remember. Gosh, you're so good at remembering.
Ooh, I will tell you later, because it was a doozy. It was a doozy issue. Like, it was a we're gonna have to talk to therapists now issue. But it got us so out of the situation. And I think some of the key is just realizing like we're right there in the situation, and it seems like as large as the Empire State Building, when really in the large scheme of things, again, it goes back to the whole, it's a marathon and not a sprint. In the big scheme of things, it might not be that big of a deal. And it might not be a big deal to handle today. Okay. Oh, I'm missing comments. Sorry, guys. Dusty says those moments for kids are points of vulnerability for them, and being vulnerable is scary. We descale with we de-escalate with humor and compassion instead of timeouts. We use time-ins. Basically, they are to take a moment to regroup creatively. Creativity helps. Yes, you are not kidding. Time-ins work too. And Laura says, I had a teen recently get angry and start to tantrum about a trip to the movies. Yeah, really, what the heck? I asked a few questions and listened to words like stress and people, and it came down to him facing social anxiety in a crowded movie theater. He had no idea how to articulate that. And Dusty said, yeah, pick your battles. And I think that's so important to remember. And I think see what I'm hearing is everyone on their A game is saying this. And I know, for anyone that's watching this, if you're not even watching this live and you're not hearing this and you're new to the foster care adoption journey, I'm hearing seasoned people saying this on their A game. And I know that when we're not all on our A game, it looks different. But yes, I totally agree with Laura. Like, just hearing some of the words that are said between the lines and hearing themes. Like, you're hearing themes or words that, so I teach ESL, English as a second language, in the morning to kids in China. And one thing we teach them to do for preparing for their English exam, which they have to get a good grade on to get into a good university, is to hear themes and to hear, like, you pick out key words and then pick out a theme or what the words might mean. And I think that's what we have to do with our kids sometimes, because they don't know how to articulate themselves. Like, even if they're teens, they might not know how to articulate themselves, but we need to hear themes that are coming up and then put that together and try to help them work through that. It is almost like teaching English as a second language, really, because they're not able to articulate themselves.
They don't have that emotional verbiage.
Right, they don't. Dusty says, look not on our A game is common. Remember, you're human, and own your mistake to the kids. It gives them a sense of normalcy. We have to be a role model how to handle those vulnerable moments. Yes, we do. And I think I've heard it said so many different ways, so many different times, that people learn so much more from when we make mistakes. I actually heard an interesting story of a gentleman from a normal household that said that his whole life found it really difficult to relate with his dad, because he saw his dad as this perfect moral role model. He was a fireman, so he was a hero in the community. And from what he knew of his dad, he was perfect all the time, and he did everything right, and he couldn't connect with his dad. And he just kind of had this growing up where he couldn't really relate with his dad, and he didn't really know what to do with his dad. And until one day his father passed away, and he was sad and he was upset. He couldn't connect with his dad, though. It just wasn't like a thing. And then, but after the funeral, he went, I don't know if he went to go pick up things at the firehouse or something like that, and got to talking with the fireman there. And the fireman said that we're talking about how his dad cussed a lot, how he cheated at cards, how he pulled pranks, so they like started to tell all this stuff, and all of a sudden, like, this guy's dad became human, and for some reason that helped him relate to his dad, and he heard about things his dad struggled with and different things like that, and his dad was a person, and he like carried that for the rest of his life. That, I don't know, just helped him connect the dots in other ways. So yeah, I definitely think that our kids need to see us being vulnerable and at our weak points, so they
need to hear us say I'm sorry and say what we've done wrong.
Kids need to make mistakes in a secure way. That is our job. Logical and natural consequences are a part of life. As parents, we need to show our humanity, because we will be human for a long, long time.
I forget where we heard that story.
It was, we were at an agency meeting, and we heard it during that. I don't know who said it. Yeah. I mean, I can tell you the trainer that told us that, but yeah. I don't know the.
There was a situation where a child dropped something and was expecting to be yelled at, and the father said, "You're going to be human for a long time and make mistakes," and they just cleaned it up together. And
right, that's good. I like being human. I prove it so often. Wow, you guys are great at this. Thank you so much. But yeah, let us know if you, again, we can keep talking about tantrums and meltdowns if you want to keep talking about that. We'd love to keep talking about it. Let us know any other thoughts you have on tantrums and meltdowns, how to address those in children.
And then also how not to take it personally.
And how not to take it personally, specifically. If not, if you guys want to change topic, we can do that too. What does that look like with new kids coming into the home? Because I forget, why was I talking about, I think it was a blog you were writing, and I started thinking about new kids coming into the home, whether it's a newly adopted child coming into your home, or it's a new foster kiddo in your home. Like, what does that look like for tantrums and meltdowns?
Dusty says, can I brag for a minute? Absolutely, Dusty.
We love giving shout outs. Definitely brag for a minute. And while she's typing her brag, can you guys, like, what do you do with kiddos when they first come into your home, as far as if they have tantrums or meltdowns? How do you address that right off the bat? Like, we've heard a lot of good suggestions, like watching your tone, but you don't know a lot of those, like, you don't know what to anticipate when you have a new child in the home. It might just happen all of a sudden, and you're kind of left there going, what's this? What happened? You're kind of having the wind knocked out of you, so to speak. What do you do during those situations when you have a new child in the home? Because I think what you guys are saying is definitely for sure. I think you need to, if they're being vulnerable, they need to have a place to be vulnerable, but you might not know what's going on right away. So, yeah. Also, go ahead and I'll once again say, if you want to hit the share button and let other people know you're watching, so we can get more people watching, more people in on the conversation. We'd really appreciate it. Okay. Do you have any thoughts of what you would do if a new kid in the home, like if they just start having a tantrum? I know we've had kids like that, where they've just had a tantrum all of a sudden. I can't think of what we did, but
I can't think of what we did either.
I can't think of anything. I know we did. I think just listening to them. I think we were able to listen to them. I think our kids are pretty good now at. Our kids are pretty good at just like knowing that when they see something like that, that they leave us alone with the other kiddo. I know some logistic things that we do is we don't touch. Like, we make sure to have close, oh, whoops. So my teen, Dusty says, so my teen, who was a half step from residential the day she was placed with us, is at a swanky college camp this week. She was one of 26 kids in our entire state chosen. We're so proud. It's a college-based science program, and if she completes it, she gets $10,000 scholarship to that college. She definitely never needed to be in a residential placement. She's pretty amazing. So she's going to be a senior next year. I'm so proud of her. Wow, shout out to her. That's awesome. Yeah. That is definitely amazing. Bravo. That is so cool.
I love hearing those stories. You know, there's so many stories of kids who were really struggling, and it just took the right person at the right time stepping in.
And I think that's
the
why
whole future changes.
And I mean, I think that's the reason, like, why Margie and I went to do this Monday Caregiver Check-in, and why we went to do everything that we do with Transfiguring Adoption is to make sure that you guys feel like you have the resources, or you have support, or places to ask questions, or get suggestions, because we want more of those stories. And it can be difficult, and when you hear someone say, "Hey, this kid needs to go into residential," it's a rough road to say, well, maybe they don't. And then to kind of go against the group and make it so that they are at a really swanky program. Yeah, like, I think that that's so difficult, and it's not the easy road. And if it was the easy road, more people would do it. Dusty says she was a highly leveled kid, and frankly, we can't fathom our life without her. So many people are scared of teens, and I can't tell you how rewarding it is. Yeah, I would agree. It's the teens that we've had in our home are pretty amazing. We've definitely had more issues. I mean, different issues. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. Different issues, because they're older and things are just different than little kids. But yeah, like, I think they're able to articulate themselves a little bit better and tell you more about what's going on. Aw, Dusty said she needed us and we needed her. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the exciting part about is with all of us, like, being here and trying to, like, just even show each other support and stuff on Facebook. It's just, I feel like if it was easy, everyone would do it. And we just need to give each other the support and encouragement to keep moving on, because whether you realize it or not, you're impacting a child's life today, and you're doing a way better job than you realize that you're doing. Laura said, if they're new, I try to be mindful of all the change they've recently experienced. It may seem, okay, so she's going back to my question where I was saying, what do you do with new kiddos coming into the home with, like, tantrums, and how do you diffuse things? Mindful of change it may seem sudden or dramatic, but I have to realize I'm just getting to know this child and their life. I acknowledge the turmoil they faced. I acknowledge that it is hard. Sometimes an outside voice validating your pain is necessary.
Absolutely.
And again, I'm going to keep coming back to this. I feel like that's the reason why we do this too, because I feel like with caregivers too, I think, like, sometimes we as caregivers, we just need someone to say, yeah, you're not crazy. That is strange. Like, when you tell people, hey, my kid's lying, and they say, well, all kids lie, and you're like, yeah, but not about everything every day, 24/7, like, about stupid things like, hey, the grass is green, and then they'll go to the firing squad saying, no, it's purple. Like, just those things where you're having issues because you're worn out and exhausted, but other people are saying, shh, that's normal, I don't know what's wrong with you. I feel like sometimes we just need validation, and then we can keep going.
Yeah, Dusty said anger, fear, sadness are all normal emotions and necessary. Validating that is awesome.
Oh my goodness, we watched Inside Out, the Disney movie Inside Out, and it was just really good to remember, just like they're showing in there that you can't, I forgot how much the character Joy, like 3/4 of the way through the movie, you start to realize, like, at the beginning, you're like, yeah, well, I can't, like, everything needs to be happy like Joy. Joy just wants everything to be happy. And then 3/4 of the way through the movie, you're like, okay, Joy sounds like an idiot now. Like, because it was definitely, there were moments and situations in the movie happening that you're like, you seem like a crazy person when you're trying to be happy. And that's what she kept trying to do. And there were times where you needed to be scared or mad or sad. And there are emotions, and you need to have those emotions. We're human. Dusty says lies are a control. Kids in care have control over nothing. So lie is a way to control their environment. It might have been a survival technique when they were in their old lives. It's true. It's definitely true. Lies can definitely help you to control things. And it might just be for, like, I can think of, like, kids too that, like, they might tell a lie just because they know they can watch. They do just want to pull the adults, like, our imaginary puppet strings, and tell the lie just to see us kind of flail, and they know they can get a response out of us, and they just want that control. But I think I think our job is to find out healthier ways for them to deal with things and approach things, right? So very good, you guys. I love these comments. Very good. But yeah, congratulations to Dusty's daughter. Dusty says, of course they do, and do you blame them? Of course they want to control things, and they want to pull our strings, and do you blame them? Not at all.
Well, and I was working on a blog of just some things I was thinking about recently, and I was kind of reflecting on just that, the very strange, awful situation of children being placed in the home of strangers and their whole world being upside down, and everything is new, everything is different. They're in a totally different culture of a different home, and they've been taken away from everything and everyone they knew. It's just how uncomfortable and exhausting and frustrating and confusing and strange, and and I think as adults, we can't imagine that same thing being done to us.
See, I think if we were in another country where we didn't speak the language and we just needed something as mundane as like toilet paper, and I just keep thinking, like, you're constantly going around asking people for toilet paper in this new culture, and they can't understand you because they don't speak the same language as you, and you're like doing all the hand gestures and you're trying as best you can to make them understand. And as the days are going by, your hygiene's getting worse, and so is your health. And I can imagine after a week of trying to explain toilet paper to people and them not getting it, like, you just want to fall down and cry and just have like tantrums because you're exhausted and you're not feeling clean and all that. Dusty says, thanks. Okay, I'm out. Thanks for letting me pop and brag. It's been a long day. You guys are the absolute best. Have a great weekend. Next week, I will be on vacation without kids. Woohoo!
Have so much fun, Dusty.
Have fun, Dusty.
You're awesome.
You're awesome, Dusty. Thanks for stopping by.
Laura says, exactly. That level of discomfort and change. Strangers in a new place and other kids. Heck, I might need to throw a tantrum too. I cannot even imagine.
I do sometimes throw tantrums. For no good reason.
Yeah, awesome. Have fun, Dusty. Next week is going to be a little different because Darren's going to be going up to Knoxville to a convention up there. And also,
we're still having the check-in, though.
We are. So I'm just saying, it's going to be different.
Everyone needs to come next week.
Yes, everyone needs to come next week because there's been a few times when Darren has done the check-in by himself. Next week, I will be doing it by myself because he will be on the road to go to a convention for Transfiguring Adoption, and I will be getting ready for a convention here, and I will be kind of on my own with the kiddos. So, hi, Deanna. We're probably hitting our time here.
We are getting close to time. Hi, Deanna, though. Mrs. Holmes. Yeah, so thanks you guys for popping in and for telling us about, it was good to talk to you guys about tantrums and meltdowns. Again, we didn't just come up with this topic. Someone actually messaged us this topic and wanted to know more about it and how not to take things personally. So thank you so much, you guys, because all of the suggestion and talk and comments that you guys give actually are helping people. Even if they're not live here now, people are watching this other times and they're actually taking this advice and suggestions, and you're helping them with their foster care and adoptive journey. Thank you so much. If you guys have any other comments or suggestions or questions, go ahead and leave them now, and we'll see what we can get to before 6 o'clock here, at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If not, we will address them, or Margie, I guess, will address them next week. Couple things that I did want to let everyone know. Huge thing is, if you missed it at the beginning, we have huge news on Wednesday. Wednesday, I need everyone to set an alarm or whatever to check Transfiguring Adoption's social media pages on Wednesday. We're going to be sharing a really cool video from someone that it just has a message. It's just actually sharing some of our ELF Squad kits that we do. Really want everyone to check that out, and we need everyone's help to share the post that we're putting out on Wednesday to help us get the word out about our ELF Squad kits, which they help fund all the programs and different things that we do. So Wednesday, please. I can't tell you who it is yet. It's really cool, really big. Wednesday, come check out our social media pages, and please, please, please share all of our social media posts to your social media pages to help us get the word out.
Christina says, how about things that are free and discounted for foster families? Other ways people do self-care.
Yes. I like that. Yeah, I like that, and we like doing that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and some of those vary by place.
What do you want? Do you want to tackle that next week, or do you want to wait for me for that one?
I don't know what I want to tackle next week.
You might be able to do self-care better than I would, because you've tackled that a little bit more in your life than I have. Trying's all it takes sometimes. Yeah, so maybe we'll wait for free or discounted foster family stuff. Maybe we'll wait for that for a couple weeks until I'm back to be able to talk with you guys too. You might be able to do self-care next week though. But once again, thank you everyone for showing up. Please check back with us on Wednesday. Share that social media post. We just have it's the person that's really exciting, right? We have actually 2 folks, and it's just really amazing that they're sharing, getting behind the stuff. It's amazing for you guys, I hope, because this person is really wanting to help get behind and help caregivers better to be able to help children and make your journey and your lives easier. So but through Transfiguring Adoption. So I hope everyone comes back and shares that post on Wednesday. Wednesday. Did I mention it was Wednesday? It's Wednesday. Wednesday, share that post.
All right. Christina says she's in VBS next week. It's summer, so we're going to have a lot of flux of who's in and where. So,
but you don't have to watch it live.
Yeah, you don't have to watch live.
We still watch the conversation still happens after this is done. So there's no reason for the conversation to stop on Facebook. And again, we do it on Instagram also and on YouTube. So there's no reason.
Yeah, and I have to check too, because we have a kiddo in VBS next week, and I got to figure out what the schedule is, since I'll be kind of the lone chauffeur.
The last thing I was going to tell everyone that our Best Foster Parent in the U.S. award is the voting is over this week. We have a really close race, actually. We have one person that's in the lead by 100 votes, but it doesn't take much to get 100 people to take that out. So definitely get on our website and check out the Best Foster Parent, in the U.S. award, and vote for who you think should be the winner. Share that out to your social media pages. That helps us a lot. So definitely check out more about that, transfiguringadoption.com. Can you think of anything else that we need to share to you guys and you? Is there anything else that we need to tell you guys logistically? No? Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Please join Margie next week as she continues the check-in. We hope that we're helping you to nurture and grow your foster adoptive family.
Bye, Facebook.
Goodbye, YouTube.